it's Natalie for a cherry on top today, and I'm using the spring cherry box with this gorgeous collection by Carta Bella. It's called Secret Garden. As you can tell in my voice, it is spring because that's what allergies does to me. It makes me sound like this, but I am going to create a fun compilation page just about a few pictures that I have taken that kind of represent the season. And I'm going to talk about how to take this pretty kind of pastel garden collection and kind of give it my own spin because I like a grunge, I like a distress, and I can still use this really beautiful collection that came in the cherry box. So I have cut out this cut file from the store, and I kind of distorted it a little to make sure it fit in the photos that I wanted to do. And I printed 4 spring photos, and then I cut 2 other film strips, and I'm going to use those to back with some paper. Now, for my background paper, I picked that little bit of a darker blue just because that goes ahead and kind of lends to the distress or the darker vibe that I was going for. And then I picked this simple green, and then I picked the floral that has a dark background. And I thought that those would all kind of give a similar vibe. It really hurt me to use that blue background though, because the pretty pattern on the other side is my favorite from this collection. But I was like, no, don't hoard it, use it, okay? And so you can see that photo at the bottom right there. That was a wall cloud. It was like a tornado. We were hiding out in the basement at my kids' theater. It was pretty scary. Anyway, I digress. So in the cherry box, you get this really cool, the Crafters Workshop stencil. You get some stencil butters, and you get this awesome, what do you call that? Like a spatula to apply the stencil butter. So that's what I'm doing here. So another thing that I'm doing to create a distressed look or grungy look on my background is I'm messily applying the stencil butter, kind of to be peeking out from around the film strips that I made. And then I'm also just using the excess left on my spatula to just kind of put additional butter around the page, and so it just lends and makes a messy look, and I'll bring cohesion with it when I add additional medias throughout. I end up going back in a minute and kind of adding a couple more butterflies because I end up covering them up with some of the too much paper. So I was being impatient, and I decided to dry it with my heat gun, and then it kind of bubbled up and crackled, and it looked really cool. So I was like, yes, let's do this for all of them. So watch it kind of crackle and bubble up. You do have to be careful with that heat gun because it will make your paper kind of singe and get a burnt spot on your paper. So it didn't do that on this darker paper, but I also didn't hold it on too long. So I wanted to do some splatter, and I wanted a small butterfly stamp, and it was so strange because I have probably over 100 stamps, and I didn't have a teeny butterfly stamp. It was so weird. So I pulled out this very small alpha stamp, and it's a bee, and so I'm just stamping it with the 2 flat sides of the bee back to back, and it looks like a tiny butterfly, and I was really happy with that. So another way that I'm kind of adding the grunge and making it distressed is I'm using this darker ink. So I'm going to use this Chip Sapphire for my stamping, and then I'm going to use it to create some watercolor, and then I'm going to use it to create splatter. And I'm going with my small paintbrush here, but you'll see it, I think I do it at the end. I created some bigger splatters, so just depends on the size paintbrush that you use and how far you hold it from the paper, but I add that at the end as well. Oh, I decided to also grunge up the butterflies a little bit and just add a little bit of that navy distress oxide to the top of the stenciling, and just kind of gives it like an antique look kind of. And now I'm going to rough up the edges really well of all of my film strips and the pattern papers, and then I'm going to ink them with that same ink as well. Sometimes I go pretty easy when I'm just roughing the edges up, and then this time I'm going kind of hard. So I'm really going at it, really making those edges look rough. And I'm going to put them just so on the page when I turn the photos right side up. There we go. I kind of arrange them like that. And then I go to grab the rub-ons, and I'm like, wait a minute. The insert for these Prima rub-ons is gorgeous. And it has this really fun edge to it, and it's got these like distressed looking flowers. So I was like, let's use that. So I slice it up. I'm going to rub out the edges of that and then add the ink on the edges of that as well, and just another layer. So then that's why it ended up being a little wider than I thought originally. So I'm going to have to go in and add a few more of my stencil butterflies. It's a little bit of a tongue twister. So that is what I'm doing here. I am on the A Cherry on Top blog today, so make sure to hop over and check that out. I'll link that down below. I give some of these tips in a more like less chaotic fashion, I guess is what I'm going for. I give them in a less chaotic fashion because they are the written word. And then you can see all of the products linked over there. I'll link down below with my affiliate links as well if you are interested in those. I do think they did run out of this box, but you can still subscribe for the next box. So the boxes are amazing because you'll get over $100 worth of product in your box, but it's only $50, and that includes shipping. That is for domestic US. So there I go. I'm drying the butterflies again, and then we're going to start assembling the page, I do believe. Oh, no, rub-ons. So those rub-ons, I kind of just chose like the rusty colored ones because again, I'm going with the grungy look here. So those were kind of grungy, but really all of them on that rub-on sheet were grungy. So, on the blog, I also give tips for if you have other types of styles. So I get that like distressed or grunge is not everybody's deal. So I did talk about on the blog, like other ways to incorporate different styles that you may have with this collection. So like, it's probably something that we all usually do when we sit down to craft, because we all have techniques that we love to do normally, or we have certain little flares or little bits or little tidbits that we are kind of like maybe a trademark of what we do. So it's just like a play off of that. There I go, inking up the packaging. And man, it's gorgeous. I would definitely use some papers and things that had that same similar print. They might have one actually as well. They should, if they don't though. More splatters coming your way, courtesy of a big paintbrush right here. So that was the big mammoth. That paintbrush came in a past cherry box. I really like the cherry box because you can like try new things that you maybe won't necessarily gravitate towards buying normally in the store. But then I love that chunky paintbrush. It's something that I never just would have thought to even look for, but it's very awesome and I love it. I like the grip on it and I like how big it is, and it's a very nice product. So just a quick thing about my photos. The top photo, we took the rails off of our porch. It's not like a hazard. It's not that far off the ground. And I was like, why didn't we do this 7 years ago when we moved here? It's gorgeous. And so there was a pretty sunset. So I got to get a picture of that. Been working hard on my garden. So that is in the photo as well. The second photo is my nephew splashing and some puddles. He came over and he had his galoshes and we had to go out. More photos of that to come because I got some really amazing ones. They were just very yellow with his little rain jackets. So it didn't go with this collection, so I'm not sure what I'm going to use to scrapbook it, but they're coming because they're super cute. The third photo is a new baby leaf on my monstera because it is growing season and baby is blooming. Actually, I chopped her head off the other day to propagate. I did a successful propagation maybe a year or two ago, and it worked really well, and I have a whole nother pot of one, so I cut off two because she's just huge. Like, I already repotted her recently, and she's just huge humongous, and so I was like, we can't let her just get out of control, so I'm propping two more, so fingers crossed they take. I might cry a little bit if they don't. The last one is my favorite tree in the yard. It is a flowering, like Japanese weeping willow type of tree. And it blooms for a very short period in the spring, and it's pink and it's gorgeous. That is the wall cloud from a couple weeks ago. I was on the way to pick up my kid from his theater, and then like they weren't out waiting, and the storm was coming, and there was a dad outside, and he was like, come on, everybody in, we're down in the basement. And I'm like, oh, this is it. Because fun fact, the theater is like where the tornado hit about a year ago in December, year and a half ago. So it was just a little nerve-wracking when it was just coming that way again, and we were in the basement with a bunch of kids. It worked out. It was fine. It wasn't a tornado, but it was a wall cloud, and it still got up to like 80 miles an hour wind. But the photos that people posted online were amazing. So I had to print one out because that's just spring. In fact, it's not just spring around here. It's apparently all the time. December hits us hard the past few years here in our town. So now I'm going to go in for the embellishment. So I went to the ephemera bits, and I'm just pulling out a little bit. I don't want too many words, but a few words will do. I'm going to use the cardstock stickers as well as in a couple of the chipboard stickers. And then I do this off screen. I decided that I wanted to journal, just like I just told you about what's going on in all those photos. I just wanted to add a little bit to say what these signs of spring were. And so I pull out one of those ephemera bits that's like a frame, and then just did a little bit of handwritten journaling on a piece of cardstock, and I stick that next to, I think I stick it kind of next to where that ephemera bit that I'm working on right now, the magic bit, is going to go. And I kind of nestled them together because there was a little bit of empty space there above that butterfly as well. So you'll see that in the final photos and in the photos on the blog, but I don't do it on screen here. Adding a lot of Nouveau to that chipboard piece because those aren't super sticky. And I am going to add a little bit some butterfly stickers. So the same or similar type of butterfly was in the sticker sheet and the chipboard sheet. So I'm going to add those in a visual triangle in 3 different spots. And one of them is going to go in that top right, where it kind of have like a little bit of a mixed media cluster kind of sitting by itself. I did pull out some green alphas for my title. It's just a rhyming title, Spring Things. Nothing super spectacular there, but it describes exactly what my photos are about. And it was green and it matched that photo. That was from just my stash, though. That didn't come in the kit, but you could easily use one of the papers from the collection with some alpha dyes, and then you can create a good title without having to stash dive. And I think we're about to finish up here. Like I said, I'll link to the blog down below. Check out my affiliate links if you would be interested in subscribing. I'll also throw down below the unboxing that I did for the spring cherry box. It's really beautiful. It was a good deal. And like I said, all the cherry boxes are really carefully curated. They're lovely and they're a really great value. So if that's something that's interesting you should do it. Oh, I'm going in for the little more distressing. I'm going to ink up some of the edges some more around the stickers. I was using that little scrapey tool to kind of distress the edges of the sticker that I had already stuck down as well, just to give cohesion to the whole page, kind of give the same treatment to all of the embellishments that I put on the page. And finishing it off with some brads, because this is in no way like distressing or grungy, but they were in the kit and I think they're fun, and I like to nestle and tuck. They're just a little bit of something that peeks out from a couple of the spaces. So thank you guys so much for watching. I would love it if you'd like and subscribe. Bye y'all.